Zblu Cops was a cancelled adventure game based around the French comic book series of the same name. It was being developed by entertainment group Biodroid exclusively for Nintendo Wii, with release being targeted for mid to late 2010. As described by one developer who was a part of the project, it was an attempt to revive the classic 90s adventure game. The original Zblu Cops comic book was a comedy about an incompetent, yet reluctantly heroic group of law enforcement agents. It gained a modest cult following in its country of origin throughout its run, but with no official English translations of it ever released, its fanbase was left unable to expand beyond there in any great numbers. Biodroid's video game would have served as its first foray into English-speaking markets, as the team was aspiring towards an international release. The title entered development midway through 2008 after a successful pitch to the rights holders, French comic publisher Glénat. Their proposal centered heavily on making a game that would successfully embody the goofy humor of the source material, and also one which would prove nostalgic to fans of the old-school adventure genre. It would have sent our heroes on a globe-trotting adventure through open environments like cities, jungles, and even eventually to outer space, on the trail of a mysterious new villain. 10 playable characters total were planned, which the player would have been able to cycle through in real time, similar to the free play feature seen in LEGO games for instance. Each character had their own unique abilities, which would have been used to traverse platforms and solve puzzles. Two-player local co-op was also available. Zblu Cops was presented in a cel-shaded visual style, taking inspiration from titles such as The Legend of Zelda: The Wind Waker to accurately replicate the cartoonish look of the comics. Bill and Gobi, the writing duo responsible for the series, were actively overseeing its development from the start. Their contributions mostly included informing the art direction, and although they did reserve final say over any other aspects, we were told they offered ample creative freedom to the developers. An early work-in-progress prototype build featured at Portuguese convention FIBDA 2008 when the title made its first public appearance. Development continued on track for the following year, during which time a large amount of work had been completed. Biodroid, however, had yet to secure a publisher for the game, even as it wasn't shown on E3 2009. A number of trailers quietly made their way online around this time, but updates from the developers began to dry up shortly thereafter. By February 2010, the team at Biodroid had made considerable progress. We spoke to Bruno Patatas, its lead designer, who told us that work on the project had reached approximately 70% completion when the final call was made to cancel it. Despite having multiple interested parties, several different publishers from around the world, the developers were never able to close a deal to distribute it. Unable to self-publish or finance the remainder of development, they were left with no choice but to shut it down. Bruno attributed the reason for them never being able to find the right publishing partner simply down to the obscurity of the brand. Nobody was willing to take a risk on a comic the West had largely no exposure to. From as little as $1 a month, you can back Unseen64 on Patreon at patreon.com/Unseen64 to gain access to our bonus podcast, get your name read out on the show, and gain access to all these videos before the rest of the internet. Thank you.